Hello class, today we're talking about Mark Rothko. He was born in 1903 and died in 1970. He was born in Russia. His born name was Marcus Rothkowitz, and Mark Rothko was an American abstract artist from the mid-20th century. So he moved over here from Russia and kind of changed up his name and really became an iconic American painter. Although Rothko was very well educated and an academic man who spoke 4 languages, his artistic skill was largely innate, and he had next to no training in painting or drawing. So in his early days, he did a lot of realism and surrealism. So if you remember from a few art histories back, we talked about surrealist artist Salvador Dali. So remember that surrealism is kind of like dreamlike artwork. So the vast majority of Rothko's realist work came at the beginning of his career, and he had taken up art full time. And then he kind of switched to the surrealist nature, and he was heavily influenced by the psychology, intriguing ideas promoted by surrealist artists, just like Salvador Dali during that time period. And Rothko's style very quickly morphed away from the realism theme and expanded his imagery to include moods inspiring colors of modern abstract artists. So really his artwork was all about your mood, and it had a lot of color, and I'll show you guys what his work kind of transformed into. But he really wanted a pure expression of emotion. He wanted less realism, and he just wanted that real strong emotion that color can bring to us. So on this slide, this is what is called color-filled painting. So this is what Rothko is mainly known for, and this is kind of what his artwork transformed into be after his realism stage and after his surrealism stage. So by 1950, Rothko had matured into the signature style. This is called color-filled painting. So unlike some of his fellow abstract expression artists of the day, he had rejected the physical methods of painting application in favor of a more spiritual and contemplative form of color. These new paintings were composed on several large rectangular blocks of color, placed mostly horizontal on a canvas, sometimes vivid and sometimes quite subdued. These paintings conveyed human emotion from joy and ecstasy to grief and depression. So these artworks were really, really big. So when people would go see these in a museum or something like that, they would just go stand and get kind of engulfed by the color. Rothko's friends initially thought that this kind of artwork was going to be way too far out for the general public and for critics to really like and understand and accept. But they were completely wrong. People really, really love the soft blurred edges. They really feel like it forced the emotion out of them. And they really just thought that it struck their living, breathing heart. Okay, so they really just loved these paintings. They just ate them up. They would just go stand in front of them for hours, and people would walk away crying, and they absolutely loved them. So Mark had found his medium, and he would continue to express this and himself until his death in 1970. So he continued out to do this abstract expressionism for the rest of his life, and critics and the general public really loved what he had created. So here are some examples of Mark Rothko's artwork. So I want you to imagine that you are standing at a gallery and there's just a ginormous color-filled painting in front of you. It is a Rothko. So what people do, you just stand really close to it and you just stare. Okay, people get different things out of each of them. I want you guys to remember when we talked about color theory a little bit, the emotions of colors. So for example, yellow could kind of mean happy for some people. Red can kind of mean angry for some people. Blue can be calm, right? There's all these different meanings to colors that kind of evoke this emotion out of people. I will attach this slideshow. You guys can go watch both of these videos. I have one video here and one video here as well. For your online assignment today, I want you to take a half sheet of paper and some color pencils or a marker, and I want you to really try to create a color-filled artwork. So when you are doing this, really try to have those soft blended edges, that really strong, vibrant look. So you really want your piece to be opaque, which means non-see-through. So you want it to be really solid, and you want it to look really vibrant so that you can just stare at it and feel that true emotion that color brings out. So on a half sheet, 3 to 4 colors, do those big boxes like the Rothkos I showed you earlier and blend out the edges and then turn it in on Google Classroom.